What do other religions ask about Buddhism? Have you ever wondered what Buddhism is really about? Perhaps you've heard words like enlightenment, karma, or meditation, but still have questions. For centuries, people from all walks of life and belief systems have been curious about the teachings of the Buddha and how they apply to our modern world. In this video, we'll explore some of the most common questions people ask about Buddhism, its views on God, the soul, suffering, and so much more. Whether you're seeking answers out of curiosity, personal growth, or spiritual exploration, we invite you to join us with an open heart and mind as we dive into the wisdom of this timeless tradition. What does Buddhism say about God or a creator? Buddhism does not revolve around the concept of a creator God. Instead, it focuses on understanding the nature of existence, the causes of suffering, and how to achieve liberation, nirvana. The Buddha taught that clinging to metaphysical speculation about a creator can distract us from addressing the root causes of suffering in our lives. Instead of relying on an external deity, Buddhism emphasizes self-awareness, ethical conduct, and mindfulness to cultivate wisdom and compassion. Is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? Buddhism can be seen as both, depending on one's perspective. For some, it is a spiritual path with rituals and practices, like a religion. For others, it is a philosophy of life, offering practical teachings on how to live with mindfulness and compassion. The Buddha himself encouraged followers to test his teachings through their own experiences rather than accepting them on faith, which aligns with a philosophical approach. If Buddhism doesn't believe in a soul, what happens after we die? Buddhism teaches the concept of anatta, or no self, which means there is no permanent, unchanging soul. Instead, we are a dynamic flow of physical and mental processes. After death, this flow continues in the form of rebirth, influenced by karma, our intentional actions. This cycle continues until one achieves nirvana, where all clinging and suffering cease. Think of it like a flame passing from one candle to another. Not the same flame, but the conditions continue. Do Buddhists worship the Buddha? Buddhists do not worship the Buddha as a god, but honor and respect him as an enlightened teacher who discovered and shared the path to liberation. Bowing before a statue or offering flowers are expressions of gratitude, respect, and commitment to follow his teachings, not acts of worship in the theistic sense. Why does Buddhism focus so much on suffering? Isn't life also about joy? The Buddha's teachings start with the acknowledgement of suffering because it is a universal experience that unites all beings. The focus on suffering, dukkha, is not to dwell on negativity, but to understand its causes and overcome it. The Buddha also taught about joy, peace, and liberation, which arise when we release attachment, anger, and ignorance. In this way, Buddhism offers a path to lasting happiness. Can you follow Buddhism and another religion at the same time? Buddhism is inclusive and does not require exclusive adherence. Many people integrate Buddhist practices, such as meditation and mindfulness, with their religious beliefs. However, fully embracing the Buddhist path may involve reflecting on concepts like anatta or karma, which might differ from other religious teachings. It ultimately depends on personal understanding and alignment. If karma determines everything, does Buddhism believe in free will? Buddhism teaches that while karma influences our lives, we are not entirely bound by it. We have free will to make choices in the present moment. By cultivating wisdom, mindfulness, and ethical actions, we can shape our karma and take steps toward liberation. Karma is not deterministic, but a dynamic interplay of past actions and present decisions. How does Buddhism address issues of good and evil? Buddhism does not view good and evil as absolute forces. Instead, it focuses on actions and their consequences. Actions rooted in greed, hatred, or delusion are considered unwholesome and lead to suffering, while actions motivated by generosity, compassion, and wisdom are wholesome and lead to happiness. The emphasis is on cultivating ethical behavior and purifying the mind to reduce suffering for oneself and others. Why do Buddhists meditate so much? Meditation is a core practice in Buddhism because it helps calm the mind, develop focus, and cultivate insight into the nature of reality. Through meditation, one can let go of attachment, understand impermanence, and experience a deeper sense of peace and clarity. It's a tool for self-transformation, enabling practitioners to embody compassion and wisdom in their daily lives. Does Buddhism believe in miracles? Buddhism acknowledges that extraordinary events can occur, but does not emphasize miracles as central to the path. The Buddha discouraged his followers from being overly fascinated by supernatural phenomena, urging them to focus instead on transforming their own minds. The greatest miracle in Buddhism is the transformation of ignorance into wisdom and suffering into peace. Why do Buddhists shave their heads and wear robes? Monks and nuns shave their heads and wear simple robes as a symbol of renunciation and detachment from worldly desires. This practice reflects the commitment to a life of simplicity, humility, and focus on spiritual growth. It serves as a reminder to let go of vanity and materialism, prioritizing inner peace over external appearances. Does Buddhism believe in heaven and hell? Buddhism describes various realms of existence, including heavenly and hellish states. These are seen as temporary conditions shaped by karma rather than eternal destinations. More importantly, heaven and hell are also metaphorical, representing mental states influenced by our thoughts and actions. The ultimate goal is to transcend all realms by attaining nirvana, where suffering and rebirth end. How does Buddhism view other religions? Buddhism is generally inclusive and emphasizes respect for all spiritual paths. The Buddha encouraged open dialogue and mutual understanding, focusing on shared values like compassion and kindness. Instead of criticizing other religions, Buddhism invites individuals to explore its teachings and practices to see if they resonate personally. Is the goal of Buddhism to escape the world? Not at all. The goal of Buddhism is to transform our relationship with the world by freeing ourselves from attachment, ignorance, and suffering. This doesn't mean abandoning responsibilities or avoiding life. Instead, it encourages living with mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, fully engaged with the world while not being enslaved by its ups and downs. Why is the lotus flower significant in Buddhism? The lotus flower is a powerful symbol in Buddhism because it grows in muddy water, yet blooms beautifully above the surface. It represents the human potential to rise above difficulties, impurity, and suffering to achieve enlightenment. Just as the lotus remains unstained by the mud, we can cultivate purity of mind and heart. Does Buddhism believe in original sin? Buddhism does not have a concept of original sin. It views human beings as neither inherently sinful nor perfect, but as having the potential for both wholesome and unwholesome actions. The focus is on understanding the causes of suffering, ignorance, attachment, and aversion, and working to overcome them through ethical living, mindfulness, and wisdom. Why are there so many different types of Buddhism? Over time, Buddhism spread across cultures and adapted to different traditions, resulting in various schools like Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. While they may emphasize different practices or interpretations, they all share the core teachings of the Buddha, such as the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. The diversity reflects the flexibility of Buddhism to meet the needs of different people. Does Buddhism have holy books like the Bible or Quran? Buddhism has a vast collection of scriptures, but no single text is considered universally authoritative. The Tipitaka, Pali Canon, is the primary scripture in Theravada Buddhism, while Mahayana traditions have additional texts like the Lotus Sutra and the Heart Sutra. These writings contain the Buddha's teachings, ethical guidelines, and meditation instructions. How does Buddhism address suffering caused by injustice? Buddhism teaches that all suffering, including that caused by injustice, arises from greed, hatred, and ignorance. Addressing these root causes requires individual transformation and collective effort. Engaged Buddhism emphasizes social action guided by compassion and wisdom, encouraging practitioners to work for justice and harmony while maintaining inner peace. Does Buddhism believe in prayer? Traditional Buddhism does not involve prayer to a deity, as it focuses on self-reliance and personal transformation. However, Buddhists may chant or recite verses to express devotion, cultivate mindfulness, or generate positive intentions. These practices are seen as ways to align the mind with the teachings rather than asking for divine intervention. Why do Buddhists emphasize impermanence? Isn't that unsettling? Impermanence, anicca, is a central teaching because it reflects the true nature of reality. While it may feel unsettling at first, recognizing impermanence helps us appreciate the present moment, let go of unhealthy attachments, and live more freely. It teaches us to accept change and find peace amidst life's uncertainties. Can someone who has never heard of Buddhism achieve enlightenment? According to Buddhism, enlightenment is not exclusive to any religion or group. It is a universal potential available to anyone who cultivates wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness. The Buddha's teachings are a guide, but the journey ultimately depends on individual effort and understanding. How do Buddhists deal with anger and negative emotions? Buddhists view negative emotions as arising from ignorance and attachment. Mindfulness and meditation help to observe and understand these emotions without acting on them impulsively. By cultivating patience, compassion, and loving kindness, practitioners gradually reduce anger and replace it with more wholesome qualities. What does Buddhism teach about forgiveness? Forgiveness is an essential practice in Buddhism. Holding on to anger or resentment harms our own peace of mind. The Buddha taught that letting go of hatred and practicing compassion frees us from suffering. Forgiveness does not mean condoning harmful actions, but releasing the emotional burden they create. What role do women play in Buddhism? Women have played significant roles in Buddhism since its early days. The Buddha established an order of nuns, bhikkhunis, giving women the opportunity to practice and attain enlightenment. While cultural attitudes have varied over time, contemporary Buddhism increasingly emphasizes gender equality and the importance of women's contributions. Thank you for joining us on this journey of understanding and reflection. We hope these insights have inspired curiosity and a deeper appreciation for the teachings of Buddhism. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel for more thoughtful content. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, May you find peace, wisdom, and compassion in every moment. Thank you, and take care.